Where I'm here to say to you, ladies, that continue to go after stuff that you may or may not think you can get. You just never know what might happen. You never know what opportunity might be afforded to you because you have the courage to say, you know what? I know that they said you have to have this experience and that experience and all these different things, but I'm going to go after it because I believe that I'm capable of leading this organization or leading this team or being a part of this. Because here's the reality: you bring a unique flair and flavor and idea and wisdom to that space because of your unique and specific experiences. Hi, everybody. Lee Scott here. Thank you for watching and are listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee, where we help you unleash your capacity and level of leadership. I'm so excited that you are here with me today because it is Women's History Month. And I'm going to talk about a particular subject today that I've been thinking about as it relates to this topic. And I want to honor women and talk about and center women in the conversation today. And there will be some things for you guys today, but I want to talk about women today. And my subject for today is this idea: there is a gap. There is a gap. As you know, on every episode, I like to center our conversation by giving my definition of leadership, because I think all of us have a capacity and level of leadership. So I'm going to give you my leadership definition as it relates to this idea. And it is: I believe that leadership is seeing something that has not happened yet and taking people, organizations, and personal processes in that direction. I believe that leadership is seeing something that has not happened yet and taking people, organizations, and personal processes in that direction. Earlier this year, the New York Times did a report about home ownership, and they found that single women in America are outpacing their male counterparts in significant ways, while making only 83 cents for every dollar that a man makes. They are now owning more homes. We're seeing more single women spend less on homes than their male counterparts, and they're more willing to make sacrifices to make this dream happen. If you probably have heard me talk about this here on Leading with Lee, that home ownership is probably one of the greatest things an individual can do. But in this article, I thought it was fascinating that they were finding that women are taking this leap, that single women are taking these chances, yet they are dealing with less money on hand. And we see this happening just not in the home ownership space, but we see this happening across sectors. We're seeing it happen that we are often debating in prospective professions whether or not a woman could be a CEO, or a woman can be a president of a nation or a prime minister of a nation, or whether a woman can run this company or be a leader in the military, or a woman can do anything in our society. And we're constantly having conversations about whether or not women are effective at what they do. And in spite of all of this, women still have continuously accomplished so much in our society and culture, despite having many barriers to overcome and step over all the time. So today I'm going to talk about three things as it relates to this idea of there is a gap for women and how women are overcoming quite a bit. And I'm going to give you those 3 points right now. So my first point is achievement isn't linear. The second point is interdependence can be a tool for good. And my last point on this issue is continue to strive without fear. So let's talk about the first idea that I have for you today as it relates to women being empowered to do something great in our society and culture and actually work to transform the world, as you have been doing already. So let's talk about this first point, which is achievement isn't linear. As I just was speaking to, we have this problem in our society where, if you look globally, women are dealing with so much. They are having to overcome quite a bit. In parts of the world, particularly in Southeast Asia and parts of Africa, women are generally the primary breadwinners. Yet in other parts of those parts of the world, and we're seeing it throughout the world, they are dealing with levels of gender-based violence and gender-based discrimination. And these realities are things that they are navigating and facing, even right now. As we've seen in the last year or so in Afghanistan, women have been working for nonprofits and NGOs throughout that province and out that part of the world. And girls at some point had been given an opportunity to go to school, and they are losing their ability. They are losing those rights. They are losing their opportunities for workforce development and education and all the things they need. We see it also in Iran right now. There was a young woman last year who was murdered because she was not wearing her hijab in Iran. And they had this organization called the Morality Police that literally chased this woman down and killed her. And as a result, school-age girls started a protest in that nation. They are currently protesting now all the actions that have been taken against this young woman who lost her life because of just something that she forgot to do that particular day. And I understand that there are things that are cultural and things that are driven by faith and doctrine and all those different things. But this has led to young women in that country, school-age girls walking out of school saying, we have a problem with the fact that you took this woman's life because of something that in our minds is not that worth. It's not that terrible that she was not wearing her headscarf. And this morality police became a problem in their nation. And people have continued, as I said, people are constantly right now in protest against the current government. They're speaking out against the imam. They're speaking out against, the ayatollah, the current ayatollah. And they're speaking out and saying, hey, we have an issue with how we have operated as it relates to this issue of people being able to move freely, people being able to be themselves, people been able to have value in our society. And this is one thing that we can learn is that sometimes difficult things actually sparks or ignites this thing in us to want to step up to the plate and fight back and push back. There's some situations happening right now in Saudi Arabia where women have for a number of years have been driving. And we think here in America we're like, well, women have been driving all this time. But in Saudi Arabia, women were not being allowed to drive. And now they are losing their rights to literally drive cars in their society. And we know that there are parts of the world where this is a reality and they're dealing with all these things that they're facing. But we can learn and realize that even in our own society and culture, how women are having to overcome these great disparities. They're overcoming a lot of difficulties where they are being told that you can't do this thing, or you may not have access to this thing, or just because of who you aren't able to accomplish this goal. Now, I know I'm talking to women today, but I think that applies to everyone that might be listening to this or watching this. That you are dealing with some barriers that people have created for you based on whatever ideology or thought process they have about you. And I'm here to tell you that you have to have some courage. You have to say, you know what? I'm not going to allow these setbacks to stop me. I'm not going to allow these views that people might have about me to stop me, because there's an MLK quote that came to my mind when I was writing and putting this together. Dr. King said this powerful thing. He said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. In other words, we have to consistently play the long game. We have to consistently believe that in spite of all these realities where people are trying to actively stop us from making progress, we can make progress based on the fact that we are in it for the long haul. And we believe in what we are doing. There's this woman that has been a hero in particular African-American circles and had done so much as an African-American here, particularly in Mississippi's history. Her name was Fannie Lou Hamer. And Fannie Lou Hamer was a woman who had went through so much, had a difficult life, yet she believed in the right to vote here in Mississippi. She continued to fight for equal rights for women and she began to fight on behalf of individuals in our society to ensure that black folks in Mississippi had an opportunity at being treated with value and treated with support. She even had the gall to run for the U.S. Senate. She actually ran for office in her time and was somebody who was bodacious about the idea of the value of human life. She was a farmer in the state of Mississippi, and she used her story to really push national politicians to do things as it relates to issues concerning women and civil rights. There are other women that come to mind, like Susan B. Anthony and Sojourner Truth and Ida B. Wells, and all these women who in times where literally society was stacked against them, society was restricting them, they became driven to do things that actually move the needle forward because they did not think about achievement being okay, it just happens in one moment. They understood that achievement is not linear, that there will be some valleys, there will be some highs, there'll be some lows, there'll be some moments where we move forward, there'll be some moments where we might go back. But they played the long game because they recognized that they were going to get the things that they needed because they believed that those things were possible. And one of the things that I think that we often struggle with here in our society as a whole is this idea that I like to call the one-shot mentality. Many of us are struggling or dealing with the idea that if I do it one time, if I just have the courage to do this one time, I may not get a chance again. But what if today, if you're listening to this or watching to this, you may have that in your mind and you're struggling with that idea. What if today is an opportunity for you to try again? What if today is an opportunity for you to say, you know what? I'm going to take my one shot and learn from it. I'm going to take my one opportunity and actually nail it and be everything that I need to be and become who I need to become and really be effective in the way that I need to be effective. Because here's the reality. At the end of the day, you won't know success until you try. You won't know what you are capable of until you actually step outside of yourself and do something unusual and actually go after your goals and dreams. Last year, as you all will know, 2 years ago, I had the opportunity of interviewing a dear friend of mine about this particular subject as it relates to women in the workforce and workplace. And she said something that has stuck with me, and I'm going to bring it up again today, that oftentimes women are looking at their opportunities and saying, hey, am I 80% qualified? Do I have the qualifications to even apply for this job? Most of the time, men are less qualified and we apply for things that we're not qualified for because there's a belief that we think that we can get anything based on the fact that we at least tried. Where I'm here to say to you, ladies, that continue to go after stuff that you may or may not think you can get. You just never know what might happen. You never know what opportunity might be afforded to you because you have the courage to say, you know what? I know that they said you have to have this experience and that experience and all these different things, but I'm going to go after it because I believe that I'm capable of leading this organization or leading this team or being a part of this. Because here's the reality. You bring a unique flair and flavor and idea and wisdom to that space because of your unique and specific experiences. And this is important for you. This is important for you to understand that you can achieve your goals if you go after them. Achievement does not happen without trying. Achievement happens as a result of you trying to do something new. Here's my second point. Interdependence can be a tool for good. In my research, I was finding that one of the big issues that women are facing, particularly in their quest to build businesses and do new things and go after their goals, a lot of women are dealing with the fact that they are not getting a lot of investment. This article that was done by medium.com, they talked about how in 2020, women only got 2.3% of initial capital for investments into startup companies. 2.3%. Now we start breaking that down. It's probably even more. It obviously is much smaller when we look at it. We break it down by race or culture. African American women probably make up a very small portion of that. Latinx and Asian women make probably a very small portion of that. But overall, 2.3% of the money that was given by venture capitalists in 2020 were given to women. Now, we realize this might be a fundamental problem. This is a travesty because there's so many things that women have sacrificed for and have done to get to this point, yet they are still experiencing lack of investment. And so here's what happened as a result of this. There's some women who decided, you know what, we're not going to wait for investors to just do what they should do. It's think through the lens of equity, think through the lens of intentionality, think through the lens of empowerment. Because sometimes the reality about our society and culture is sometimes when you have power, you have to choose how to use your power, not only in your interests, but the interests of others. Power is not, and I'm kind of getting off a little bit, but power is not about you just having it, but power is supposed to be used to empower. If you are only empowering people that think like you, that are like you, that come from the communities that you come from, that think the way you do, you are missing out on the opportunity to expand your capacity. If I am a leader, if I'm a business owner, if I am a successful individual, I have to understand that one of the priorities that I must make is empowering the people around me to do what they do, and not looking for people that are just like me. I look for people that meet the requirements of what it takes to do what we need to do. Obviously, as you know, my idea this year has been talking about leading from where you are. And I recognize in leading from where you are, you got to know who you are. You as a woman who might be listening to watching this, you as a woman have to know who you are. You have to know what your capacity is. You have to know that you may have not tapped into your ability to lead. And here's the thing, I'm going to say this, and this may be controversial in some people's minds, but women should lead like women. You do not have to copy what men do in order for you to be successful. You being authentic and being who you are should be credited, you should be given credit enough in that regard. We should support you because you're being yourself. We should support you through your unique personality, through your ideas, through where you come from. We should never limit you based on your gender. We should support you based on your work and your ability to achieve the goals that you have set out to achieve. And even if you fail, we still should support you because of who you are and what you bring to the table. And this is a reality that we must keep in our mind. And this is why some women have taken up on themselves to say, you know what, we're not going to wait for society to give us permission to be ourselves. We're going to start investment companies and invest in other women. Here's what some of these women have done as a response to the lack of investment. There's an investment firm called BBG Ventures, founded by Susan Lane and Nasa Dua. These women look for companies that have at least one female founder. And they typically invest somewhere between $100,000 to $250,000 in these companies. Now, these women, in starting this company, they have been able to invest into 108 companies. And 58% of those companies are led by people of color. And 33% of those companies they've invested in have been led by Black founders or Latino founders. These women's intentionality to invest into female-led businesses, to invest into minority businesses, has caused these companies to be successful in a way that they probably wouldn't have been had not somebody believed in them. These women are taking that kind of risk. Another company that's doing this great thing is True Wealth Ventures, founded by Sarah Bland, and is actually located in Houston, Texas. This company has made over 12 significant investments and raised in 2019 $19.1 million. And they focus on investing in human and environmental health companies. These companies are being intentional. These women are being intentional about how they are supporting organizations that are doing great work. They're raising capital. They're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to put our money here. We're going to believe in these small businesses to give them the capacity and the range or the ability to really be impactful, to really make a difference, to really transform their family state, the community's sake, state, that we're trying to give them something that they need, which is simply support. And it's not just a talk. It's not just something that they're saying. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying, hey, we're going to help these women because we believe that if we support them in this one area, their lives are going to change and their businesses are going to change the world. No matter what these businesses are. These businesses are going to affect lives in a positive and a productive sense. Another company that's doing a phenomenal work, a venture capitalist company that's doing phenomenal work that is empowering women to do great things, is Gingerbread Capital, founded by Linnea Conrad Roberts in 2016. With this company, she has actually not only just helped women get the initial capital, but she helps them through stage growth. She helps these companies through stage growth, and she helps specifically women-founded and women-led businesses, and she's invested in over 40 different companies. So why is this important? Why is this power of interdependence important? You're saying, Lee, okay, I'm not trying to start a business. I'm just trying to figure out how to raise my family. I'm just trying to figure out how to be an effective professional. I'm trying to be a better professional, Lee. What does this have to do with me? Maybe asking yourself that question. I want to submit to you and bring to your mind that as you learn how to engage folks and engage leaders around you and have humility about that and actually take upon yourself to empower people, you are adding things to yourself. You are adding to your ability to understand and be able to function in the world. You're bringing new ideas. You're bringing new resources to yourself. You're bringing better energy, as people like to say. You know, we want to attract things that make us better. One thing I've realized and learned in the last year or so that I've been back home in Mississippi, a lot of things that I've been doing on Leading with Lee has attracted certain things to me. There are things that I've said here on Leading. There are things that I've done here on Leading that has attracted particular kinds of individuals and people to me. Not because I was out here saying I'm just going to do this. Now, there were things that I was saying, but I was seeking out information. I was going out of my way to learn, or I was having a conversation with an individual, or I'll go and support an individual, or I would come into contact with an individual and I'll say, hey, how did you do this? What did you do? What tools can I gain from you? Like that interdependence became my tool for good. My ability to communicate, my ability to ask questions, my ability to say, hey, how can I do this? Has become a tool for good. And one of the realities that we have to recognize about this is that you and I have to be willing to seek out answers. We have to make it work. Some of us are not going to get the opportunity to get the investments that these individuals got, but yet we should strive to get what we can get. There are women in my life that I have seen make some stuff happen because they were willing to use what was in their hands. They're willing to engage people. That was unusual for them. They're willing to ask questions. They're willing to talk about stuff because they wanted to grow in their respective space. It's a tool for good. Your femininity is a tool for good. Ladies, your femininity is a tool for good. Your ideas, your intellect, your brilliance, your the way you carry yourself, your character is a tool for good. You don't have to be something that you are not. If you are if you are authentic, it is a tool for good. Being yourself is your greatest weapon. No matter where you come from or who you are, being yourself is your greatest weapon. That is the thing that causes the world to be transformed, is your authenticity and your ability to function in your capacity and function in the way that you know how to function. Because that's what we need from you. We need you to actually function the way you need to function. It's to function authentically. It's to not allow fear or favor to stop you from being who you want to be and who you are. That's what matters for you as a leader. No matter who listening to this or watching this right now, that's what matters. It matters that you use the things in your hand for good, not for ill will. It's actually to make the world a better place. We need you to make the world a better place. We need it. And we are dependent upon you to know that and know how to operate in that regard and know how to function in that regard. Because we can't do this without you. We ultimately can't. I'm going to take a break right here for a moment, and we'll be right back after this message. Hi, everybody. Lee here, and I want to give some information to you. Do you need someone to host an event or come and speak at your event? You can now book yours truly. Book me for your event by visiting www.leeascott.com. I am so excited to connect with you and do work with you. Much love, and let's get started. And we are back. Thank you for still being here with me here on Leading. And I'm talking about this idea of there is a gap, that there's a reality that's happening in our society and culture still, where women are not receiving some of the equity in some ways that they deserve. But I truly believe that we're going to continue to see the progression that has been made by women in our society and culture. And maybe this will empower some of you female leaders to continue to do the work, but it also empowers me as a male leader to do what I can on behalf of women and supporting the women that I know who are making a difference. And so here's my last point. My last point today is this idea that we must continue to strive without fear. We have to be willing to strive without fear. There's a young woman who has become an absolute superstar in the restaurant business. Her name is Pinky Cole, and she's the founder of this Atlanta-based restaurant called Slutty Vegan. And she actually started her first restaurant back in 2014. And after 2 years, she lost her restaurant due to a grease fire. And that seemed like it could have been a significant setback for her, but she continued on. And 2 years later, after that, in 2018, she began selling her vegan burgers through food apps like Uber Eats and DoorDash. And this has led to her becoming a sensation. She actually ended up starting her first brick and mortar shop in Atlanta in 2021 during the pandemic. And she has continued to build a business that has been a juggernaut in our society and culture. And now she has over 8 locations and a touring food truck that she owns. And Pinky has been able to do so much in such a short period of time because, number one, her food is phenomenal, but she also has built a business that people can believe in and people can support. And this is primarily because Pinky had enough courage to continue to strive towards her goals without fear or favor. And there's one thing I want to put in our minds today is that you have to have some courage. I know I've been saying this a lot, but you have to have some courage to keep moving. Even when people are not supporting what you're doing, even when people are not giving you the respect that you deserve, the respect that you need as it relates to what you're building and what you're trying to accomplish. Because realities is that you're great at what you do. You're great at what you do, and people can never stop you. And I promise you, We have taught young women, we have taught, especially particularly here in the West, we've taught young women to not have guts, to some degree be quiet, to some degree not stand up for themselves, to some degree not really pursue their goals the way that they should. And I understand that there is a level of interdependence that takes, but we should really be encouraging and continue to encourage young women and continue to encourage women to pursue their dreams and pursue their goals for the betterment of their communities and their families. And I'm not saying that putting certain things on hold is not necessarily a good thing, but I'm not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing. Sometimes you have to make some sacrifices, as we're seeing with young women in home ownership. There are young women that are making sacrifices because they want to own homes. They're just doing it because they want to own homes. Pinky made some sacrifices. Pinky went out of her way to continue to go after her goals. Now, her and her partner have continued to do a lot of great things. He has a phenomenal business and doing great stuff in the Atlanta area. And Pinky has continued to pursue her goal of expanding her business. She's about to open another restaurant in the place where she started, which was in Harlem. She's about to open a new restaurant in the same place where she lost her first restaurant, because she's having guts. She's continuing to strive without fear. She's recognizing that in the midst of it all, she can accomplish things if she keeps going. And there's one thing I just want to put in your mind as I'm closing, is that restriction often breeds innovation. Restriction has a way of pushing you to do things that you never thought you could do. I've seen this in the women in my life oftentimes. My mother, my grandmother, sometimes had limited resources. My grandmother often had limited resources, but she found a way to support and empower her children and her grandchildren to get the things that they need. My mother has made meals for our family with limited resources and limited budgets and limited things, and figured out how to get us what we need. Because women have this capacity, they just have this ability. You all have this innate ability to defy the odds when there are restrictions placed on you. My mother, who I'm speaking about right now, Valerie Scott, started this event last year. She's doing it again this year. This women's event where she's empowering women. She's having this event for women. She has never had a staff. She's never had a bunch of people on her team. She's never done it. She might have had 2 or 3 people working with her. Yet, this woman has figured out how to make it work and get the thing that she's trying to get into the earth. She's working to bring forth her dream. She's working to actually bring to pass what she believed in her mind, her mind's eye. What are you doing to bring the things that you want to work or actually bring to the world to pass? Are you at least writing it down? Are you at least making plans? Are you at least talking to people that are important to you, talking to people that have an ability to empower you or support you? Are you actually engaging them in the process of support? Are you missing out because you have not done your due diligence in giving people a chance to support you? Have you? And this is not just for women, this is for everybody. It's for every person that's listening to this right now. Have you given people permission? Excuse me, rather, have you given yourself permission to bring into the world what the world needs from you? I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it almost every episode this season. Is that you are necessary. You are needed. You are important. You are valuable, no matter your background, your gender, your perspective, social economic status, your race, no matter your height, your weight, no matter your sexual orientation. None of these things matter that much when it really comes down to it. What it comes down to is you having the courage to do it. Because Pinky had the courage. In the midst of setbacks, so going back to the thing, we have this one-shot mentality. Especially those of us who are minorities, we often deal with this one-shot mentality of thinking, hey, I can't do this again. I may not be able to have this chance again. So I can't mess it up. Either I don't do it because if I mess up, I won't get another chance, or I do it and I fail and I hold it against myself and never try again. And either way, that's a problem. You cannot go through life functioning that way. You cannot go through life preventing yourself from experiencing another chance, another opportunity. I mean, many of us do this in certain areas of our lives. If there's a job that you're tired of or a job you don't like, you quit it. Because you thought the job was going to actually give you the financial support and success that you wanted. And if it didn't give you that, you move on. You go get another job. You start something else. You do something else. I hope that you would apply that same mentality to every area of your life. I hope that you apply that same energy to other areas of your life. Because when you do that, you will start seeing results and you start getting rewarded by your ability to shake it off and keep moving. By your ability to keep pushing, by your ability to keep taking steps. Because that's all life is. Life is all about you taking steps. Life is always about you pushing forward. Life is always about you doing something unusual for you. And so today, I hope that you recognize that even in the midst of all these gaps, even in the midst of all these restrictions, even in the midst of all these challenges that we face, the world needs you to lead from where you are. The world needs you to recognize that you can change it. Your world. I'm not talking about the big world, because oftentimes when we talk about the world, we think literally the whole world. Your world is your neighborhood. Your world is your community. Your world is your family. Your world is your sorority. Your world is the civic organization you're part of. Your world is the people that you encounter every single day. That's your world. That's your world. And my friend, I'm here to encourage you. Take that leap. Do the work and never give up, because you can make a difference. We'll see you next time here on Leading. Much love. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee. If you have not done it yet, subscribe on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. If you want to get more information and connect with me, visit me at www.leeascott.com or follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lee A. Scott II or Lee A. Scott II. So thank you for watching. Much love, and let's get started.